Welcome to your chocolate cake collection. So why a chocolate cake? Well, Pilates is a recipe. It's not just a list of exercises. So in this section, it will be particularly good for you if you're new to us or if you're new to Pilates and you need to perfect for yourself a good recipe. For a recipe, you need to have good ingredients. You need to know how to mix them together to hopefully get a really good, successful outcome. Once you've got the basics, the good chocolate cake recipe, then you can start layering. Then you can add in the ganache and you can add in the sprinkles, and that's some of the other collections that you'll find later. But for now, let's make a really good Pilates chocolate cake. Okay, welcome to your Pilates chocolate cake recipe, ingredient number 1. So first of all, for any good recipe of Pilates, it all stems from the pelvis. The pelvis is the place where your spine sits inside, your legs come in too, your arms even connect into your spine and into your pelvis. So first of all, we look at the pelvis. So here we've got Ellen. And Ellen's going to help us today to look at getting a good pelvic placement, an ideal position for your movements. If you can get that good base of structure, then all the exercises will have their best ability to move from them. So as Ellen comes up onto her knees, we're going to just take a look at Ellen's body position, particularly thinking of the pelvis. If we can bring our arms just out of the way, that's it. So generally you'll be either one or other position. You'll either be somebody who likes to tuck the pelvis under in a backward position, a posterior position. And by having this slightly tucked position, you can see the hips are very stretched towards the front. Everything is quite short at the back. And although the hips are very tight, they are very long and overstretched. Or you might be the opposite position, where the pelvis might tend to spill forward. And as you can see, the back and lower back starts to really arch here. The front of the hips are now short and tight here, and the back of the hamstrings and the bum is actually overly stretched. Come back, Ellen. Neither of those make a good ideal position. So we want to know, first of all, whether you're more prone to one or the other, or you might be prone to the sway back position where the pelvis tends to jam forward and the torso leans back. Often you see a lot of guys like this, so hips forward, shoulders back. And what we're really trying to do is get an alignment between the pelvis and the rest of the spine in a good plumb line. Now we'll take a look at that lying down. And we'll bend the knees. Okay, so here's the pelvis again. To know where your pelvis is, you can take your hands and find these two hip bones right on the front here. And it feels very nice when you've got your hands on your hip bones. Notice for yourself when the two hip bones are level to each other, or maybe you have one hip slightly higher than the other, or perhaps the other way around. Don't overly force yourself to bring it into an ideal position yet, just notice. Ideally, we'd like the two hip bones to be as level as possible. We've also got then a reference point of here between the two hip points, the lower abdominals. So hip bone to hip bone, a line across the two, and the lower abdominals that connect into here. What we want to try to feel is that the weight of the pelvis is dropped down onto the mat, neither tucked. We'll call this a tuck position, where the tailbone is lifted high and the lower back is jammed into the floor, nor is it tipped the other way, where all the weight is down on the tailbone and the lower back is off the ground. However, you may be having the feeling that your lower back is falling away from the floor because of the size of your buttocks. So if you've got a big booty, your bum will probably feel like your back is tipping off the floor. Don't worry with that. We have what we have. We want an ideal position then to not be in the tip or the tuck. We want to be in the center between the two. And it's really important that when you're moving, that you try to maintain this position. What you may find is compensations happen. So if you're somebody who's prone to tucking, when you lift your head, neck and shoulders up, you might tuck your pelvis in order to lift your head, neck and shoulders. Come back down again. That's a very common thing. If you're very tight here, you'll tend to tuck the pelvis in order to lift the head. So you're getting a compensation somewhere else. If you are tending to fall out of your lower back, you might lose your abdominals here, spill the pelvis forward as you lift the head and not be able to hold on to your abdominal muscles. And relax. So we need to put some strength and support around the pelvis, and we'll look at that in our next recipe.